My mom was just 17 when she met my dad, who was 4 years older than her. They fell deeply in love, and as often happens in such situations, my mom got pregnant. They waited until she turned 18 to get married, but by the time they signed the papers, she was already 3 months along. They wanted to be independent, so they rented a small single room in a shared house. I was born before my mom turned 19, and she had only completed high school at the time. No college, no extra education. My dad, on the other hand, had finished technical college and worked as a shift supervisor at a manufacturing plant. During her maternity leave, my mom stayed home with me while my dad earned for the family. But he didn't stop there. He was a devoted father. He helped feed me, washed and ironed my baby clothes, rushed to the pharmacy whenever I got sick, and did everything possible to support my mom. Eventually, my mom decided to go to medical school. Since it was in a different city, I stayed with my grandma. My mom would visit during breaks, and her visits were the highlight of my life. She'd take me for walks, let me stay up late, and we'd have a great time together. But as soon as her break ended, I'd feel sad all over again. My dad stepped up even more during that time. He kept my spirits high by teaching me to ski and skate, taking me out on weekends, and even walking me to school on my first day. We'd go to meet my mom when her train or bus arrived late at night, and I'd often fall asleep on his shoulders as we walked back home. After 6 years of med school, my mom graduated and came back to work as a resident at the local hospital. By then, my dad had gotten us a 2-bedroom apartment through his job, and we finally started living together as a proper family. In her youth, my mom was incredibly beautiful, slender, with light brown hair and piercing blue eyes. Even as she got older, her beauty remained. Strangers would often mistake us for a couple when we walked together, thinking she was much younger than she really was. I became a pilot after high school, and by the time I was 23, I was flying for a regional airline in South Africa. Life was going great until I returned home from one of my contracts, and everything changed. At the airport, my mom arrived in a sleek, expensive car. She looked stunning, wearing a cream coat and high heels, but something felt off. She told me in a matter-of-fact tone that she had left my dad 6 months ago and was now living with her true love, Charles. She also revealed that Charles was my biological father, and that my dad, Matthew, wasn't my real dad. She explained that Charles' parents had forced him to break up with her years ago, and she'd married Matthew for stability. I was in shock. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mom expected me to embrace this new man, but all I could think about was my dad. He had raised me, loved me, and done everything for me. How could he be discarded so easily? I left and went straight to our old apartment, where I found out from a neighbor that my dad was in the hospital after a heart attack. When I visited him, he looked weak and tired. He tried to act normal, but I could tell he was deeply hurt. I decided to take matters into my own hands and arranged for a paternity test through a friend. I needed to know the truth. The results came back the next day, and they confirmed that my dad, Matthew, was my biological father. I felt both relief and anger, relief that my dad was truly my dad, and anger at my mom for everything she had done. I moved back in with my dad after that. My mom tried to contact me, but I avoided her. She had made her choice, and I had made mine. I got married to a wonderful woman, a flight attendant I'd worked with, and we had a son. We named him Matthew after my dad. Over time, my mom stopped reaching out. She stayed in her big house, living off her late husband's wealth. Years later, at my wife's urging, I visited my mom with my family. When she opened the door, she looked thrilled at first, but the moment she saw my son, Matthew, she froze. It was as if she was staring at my dad's younger self. She whispered, "What have I done?" That moment, I think, she finally realized the gravity of her choices. And that's the story. Good luck.